So today, we're going to talk about a really powerful framework for preventing youth violence. But here's the thing. This isn't some top-down policy. This is the Sankofa Youth Development Program, a plan that was born from real lived experience. And it's all about building a future for young people by investing right in them and their community.
And that quote right there from the program's founder, Johar Sankofa, really gets to the heart of it. It's all about a huge shift in perspective, moving away from just reacting to tragedy and instead focusing on proactively building the systems that can stop it from ever happening in the first place.
So you have to ask, where did a framework like this even come from? Well, it wasn't designed in some ivory tower or a boardroom. Its roots are incredibly personal, and they're grounded in a real sense of urgency. The spark was a moment of absolute crisis. The source material tells us this whole framework was actually developed in the early morning hours, right after the unjust killing of 2 teenagers in Seattle. It was born from this deep need to stop having the same old conversations about problems and to start building real, tangible solutions.
In this slide, this really shows you where that perspective comes from. The founder's own journey took him through public schools, private schools, the foster care system. He saw firsthand how instability creates these huge gaps that kids just fall right through, pushing them toward what we often call the school-to-prison pipeline. This isn't just a theory for him, it's his lived reality.
Okay, so with that context, let's look at how this framework redefines the problem itself. Because the argument here is that to get to the right solution, you first have to understand what's really causing the problem at its roots.
And this is the core idea right here. The Sankofa program doesn't see youth violence as some random, unpredictable act. No, it frames it as the predictable result of very specific conditions. Needs that aren't being met, trauma that hasn't been healed, a lack of real guidance, and a fractured sense of self. When you look at the problem that way, the solution starts to look a whole lot different.
And this is a really critical point. You know that idle time after school? It's not neutral. The source highlights this specific window, those hours right after the bell rings, as a time when young people are most vulnerable. If they don't have anywhere constructive to go, it's just way too easy for negative influences to become the default.
So, when you see the problem that way, it leads to this fundamental shift in philosophy. Instead of just waiting for a crisis to happen and then trying to clean up the mess, the Sankofa program is all about building a preventative infrastructure, one that supports young people long before they're ever in harm's way.
This chart just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got the typical reactive model, right? Emergency response, punishment, incarceration. But on the right, you see the Sankofa approach, building community infrastructure, focusing on healing and trauma care, and creating real mentorship and opportunity. It's a total flip from just reacting to harm to actively preventing it.
Wow, this is such a powerful metaphor from the source material. Think about it. If violence is a disease, then police and prisons are like the emergency room. Yeah, they can stabilize a crisis, they can stop the bleeding, but they can't provide the cure. The cure, the actual long-term solution, is building up the health of the entire community.
Okay, so we get the why and the what. Now let's dive into the how. What does this community infrastructure actually look like when you put it into practice?
The whole program is built on these 6 core pillars. You can think of them as the building blocks for creating a totally supportive ecosystem for young people. We've got guaranteed after-school structure, community resource hubs, trauma-informed healing, mentorship and belonging, identity restoration, and finally, economic opportunity. Let's walk through what these mean.
So, first up, structure and hubs. These two go hand in hand. This is all about tackling that vulnerable after-school window by guaranteeing safe, supervised activities. But it goes way beyond that by turning community centers into these amazing one-stop shops. I mean, imagine a place where a kid can get academic help, mental health counseling, career advice, and learn about financial literacy all under one roof. All right, next the framework gets really personal. It focuses on healing a young person's inner world. That starts with making counseling for trauma-free and stigma-free. So important. Then it's paired with consistent long-term mentorship from age 10 all the way to 21. And maybe most crucially, it includes identity restoration. For foundational Black American youth, that means reconnecting with their own history and heritage, which is a key factor in building resilience.
And the final pillar, this one is absolutely essential. It tackles economic pressure head-on. Because let's be real, it's almost impossible for a young person to focus on their future if they're constantly worried about today. So this program creates real, tangible pathways to financial stability through things like paid internships, job training, and direct connections to employers.
So when you put all of those pillars together, what do you get? You get this, a comprehensive ecosystem of support. See, it's not just one single program. It's a whole network of resources that are designed to meet young people exactly where they are. Let's look at some real examples of what that looks like.
And this is where it all comes to life. These aren't just random activities, you know? A martial arts academy teaches discipline and self-control. A no-cut sports league means every single kid has a place where they belong. Summer camps can turn what are normally high-risk months into times of real growth and productivity. Every one of these programs is a tool for building skills, confidence, and community.
So what's the end goal here? If a community really implements this framework, what does success actually look like? For the kids and for everyone else?
Well, success is measured in a whole bunch of ways. Yes, of course, a key metric is seeing a measurable drop in youth violence. But it's also about seeing kids more engaged in school, showing better mental health, and developing a really strong sense of who they are. The ultimate goal? To help young people graduate ready for the workforce and, maybe most importantly, to finally break those long-standing intergenerational cycles of trauma.
And who is this for? Well, the focus is crystal clear. The program is designed for young people from 10 to 21 years old in the Seattle and King County area, and it specifically prioritizes those who are most vulnerable, the ones who are most at risk of being overlooked or failed by the systems we already have. It's all about getting resources to where they're needed most.
And this is so important to understand. This framework isn't just a document sitting on a shelf, it's a call to action. It's a proposal that is actively looking for collaboration with community partners, with foundations, with city leaders, anyone who wants to help bring this vision to life.
And at the end of the day, that's really the question this whole framework leaves us with. It challenges all of us to think beyond just emergency responses. It asks us to imagine, and then to help build a future where every single young person has the support and the infrastructure they need, not just to get by, but to truly thrive. What becomes possible then?